today I want to talk about classism in 10 Miles of Peach Blossom and how the show could have explored it but doesn't. So let's just get into it. So I'm going to start this video assuming that you've watched 10 Miles of Peach Blossom. So if you haven't watched it, don't watch this video. So I want to talk about some characters and some things I've noticed. So overall in the show is a very class-based kind of show, right? Like all the characters are in this class-based system, they're gods and they're goddesses, and they're in their places and are treated as such based on their positions. But I've noticed in the show with the villainous characters like Drew Dan's character, or even the character of Sujin, those two characters in particular. I'm gonna start with Drew Dan's character. So we meet her at the beginning of the show. She's a concubine's daughter in the fox realm. Her parents want her to marry a bear. She is so desperate to escape this fate that she ends up betraying the heavenly realm. Before she gets to that point, she tries to get people to help her, but everybody's like kind of treating her like a hot potato and throwing her around. Her her half sister's like brother-in-law and his really close friend are like, she's here, but we don't really kind of want her here. We're just men. What can we do to help her? Mind you, these are two very powerful people who don't want to use their power to like get involved in something that they could easily get involved in. But fine. And then she's taken to Baijiang, and Baijiang's at Kunlun, and Baijiang doesn't really want her there. Baijiang finds her like a nuisance. And she knows that. She tells Baijiang, like, I know you don't really want me here, like, you find me annoying or whatever. And she's hurt by it, honestly. Like, she might be like playing a little bit, like she's putting it on, but simultaneously, I think she is hurt by like all the rejection, treating her like a hot potato. Then the guys don't have to date her, but like starts like asking guys if they're like free to date and stuff like that, and they're like, no, because I already have marital plans back home because I'm second prince of whatever. But it's like all this stuff just throws into her character's face that all these people care about is status. So like she's just getting like, closed doors in front of her like multiple times. It's why I feel more sympathy for her as like a villain, because I'm like, the origin story, like nobody gave this lady a chance. So she did something really bad. She betrayed somebody that already seemed to have everything, so I don't think she felt too bad about it. Um, but yeah, essentially, like, I'm taking your man, but like, you have everything anyway, so you'll get over it. Baijan does get over it. Is it still wrong? Is it still bad? Yes. But like, when you think about her character, like, personally speaking, I feel more sorry for her because I'm like, think about it. Like, everybody shut the door in her face. Like, she really didn't have a fighting chance, and nobody was willing to help her. So she just took the first option that she could. And it wasn't a great option. Like, I think she wanted the guy to love her, but he didn't, Vin Zhang's character, Li Jing. He couldn't love Shan Lu. He just could not. And that hurt her, of course, but like, you know, she she has to try and exert her power in some way. Now, I won't justify the fact that like she gets to the ghost realm and decides to be really awful to everybody as a way to exert power, but simultaneously it comes from a place of like intense insecurity, because if she doesn't do that, then she'll be walked on. Like she feels like she's been walked on her whole life, which is why she acts out. Like it just comes from a place of insecurity. And even the way her character ends and her desperation with her child, who is stillborn and everything, it's all just wanting love, like genuine love. I'm just obviously not going about it the right way, but considering the fact that she tried to do that in the beginning and it utterly failed, I personally can't blame my character for flopping. Now, how that relates to classism is the fact that like nobody cares that she's in the position that she's in. Nobody really, they talk about it, but they don't really think about the fact that she's a concubine daughter and how that affects her decision making in this class-based system. Nobody acknowledges it, and it's not really the character's fault. It's the writers. Like the writers have the system, but like haven't really decided to. Not saying that the writers had to make it so that everybody cared, but if they also blatantly like, let's say they were blatantly consistently adjusting the fact that she was a concubine daughter and that they didn't care, at least say something really strong as a writer about how you feel about this world-based system that written. Obviously, it's based on a book, but still, like, tell me what you feel. I'm gonna assume you're not okay with it, so I'm gonna assume that delving deeper would basically mean the characters kind of addressing the system and trying to maybe like be like, hey, this isn't fair, and helping them. Like, even if you're gonna like be like, okay, we're still gonna have it and it's still gonna be classism, but we're gonna help those that we can because we're good characters. Like, if the characters are supposed to be like good or whatever, aren't they supposed to like help the less fortunate? And that's exactly what um Shannu is. She is less fortunate, and everybody pretends to kind of help her, but they're not. And they act shocked when she betrays them, but they haven't actually thought about like her position. They say things like, "Oh, I feel bad for her" and everything, but nobody really helps her. Like, she's out London, and people just kind of ignore her. She's just walking around all day, like nobody's paying any mind to her. And you know what they say about like an idle mind and everything. Of course, she went like crazy. Like, no one ever gave her the time of day. When she got married, the same thing happened. Like, no one ever really was like, I'm trying to actually understand this girl, which is a big problem. As like the characters who benefit from the class based system in the story don't really have as much empathy as they let on. They like to say they have empathy, but their actions don't show it. It's weird. The writers the writers are like, they're gonna say they have empathy, but they don't do anything about it, which I just think is weird. It doesn't really say something completely solid about where they stand in terms of that. On the other hand, you have Sejun's character who benefits from the caste based system because her parents die in the Heavenly War. And then she's able to like, you know, be a part of the Heavenly Family and live there and be really close with the Heavenly Emperor and get closer as well to the grandson of the Heavenly Emperor, Yehua. And she falls in love with Yahua like immediately, pretty much, and becomes obsessed with him her whole life. Now, she's someone that could have benefited from the system had she not been like in unhinged. And in her case, it's not even like classism, it's more like she's crazy. And she did it to herself because I didn't like her. But what was interesting is that her demise also came from classism. Like, everybody came together from the same tertiary group complaining about her to the point where they had to eventually kick her out, right? Like, there's always a hierarchy, and her demise is an example of that. When she does fall from grace, she's like at the bottom, like she's like guarding some heavenly item, and she can't do anything because she doesn't have any power. So not only is it like, okay, like demise from the star space system that you benefited from, but also like if you don't actually have any magical powers, you can't do anything. So she's worse off than um than Shamu, but simultaneously like more aggravating because she self sabotaged to the point where I don't even know if our character acknowledges it as self sabotage, which is interesting. This is why in the story I feel more bad for Shanu than I do for Sejin, because with Shanu it was external circumstances that just led to her being idle and thinking about the most evil things possible. And and then you have the main characters. You have Bai Fangju, Bai Zhan. They just benefit from the system. And I mean, in my opinion, I think that Bai Fengju has more empathy than Bai Zhan as a whole. But simultaneously, when Sisu was in heaven, she like wanted to help, I guess, but like was also incredibly reluctant to do so. And it was mainly because she felt bad for like Bai Zhan, whatever. But it's uncomfortable. It's like, yes, family comes first, but simultaneously, the person who's supposed to be the most empathetic one is tittering and tottering based on family, quote unquote, slash, I guess, let's say class, looking down on a mortal sort of thing, even though she's supposed to be like a good person. Like, it's evident throughout the entire show. Even the way, like, at the beginning at least, Donghua treats Bai Fangju, you could say it's a matter of her age, like the age difference between them, but I also think it has to do with him kind of like not taking the Fox realm completely seriously. It, it, the way that the characters treat each other and the way they like approach each other in the beginning and the meet cutes are all about the class-based system and how they see them within that system. Same thing with Yehua and like Baijan. Um, and them meeting when she was Susu. And what I found interesting about their meeting, right, is the show could have said, and the show could have said like, okay, like it doesn't matter what class you're in, anybody can fall in love with anybody, even if they're mortal. But because you know that the characters are faded, that's not what it's saying at all. Because they meet at Kunlun because he's a spirit at Kunlun, and things develop like that, and it's just like a spiritual, like eternal connection that can't be broken. So it actually has nothing to do with the fact that like he humbled himself before her because he didn't, and he actually didn't in that relationship. He lied the whole time. So like anything you might think that it's saying positively against maybe the characters being empathetic towards those less fortunate, because let's not say that they're going to break down the system because this isn't a show about revolution. It's just a Zanzia. But like, let's say, okay, let me build my empathy. Let me be empathetic towards those less fortunate. That's not what they're doing. That's not what's happening at all. And I think it's really weird because the show, I feel like the show wants to make it seem like it's saying that, like the time that Yehua and Susu like spending the mortal realm and him cutting wood and living like a simple life, and then he goes so far as to like fake his death so you can live that simple life, but then it doesn't happen. Oh, why doesn't it happen? Because it's not possible. It's not real. Um, they're faded, and that fate has less to do with like living simply than it does to do about their statuses, if anything. It all goes back to their status. Like, it's not, them living a simple life is not the point. I mean, the fact that it ends and, like, he's revived and they're kissing in the peach blossom forest and she's still Bajan and he's still Yahua. I mean, it kind of says it all. It doesn't have anything to do with, like, their relationship, but fate brought them together. I think that's my issue with it, right? And the story is in this class-based system that would be really interesting to explore, but instead it just focuses on like the fated love story. Obviously, that's the main purpose of the show, but on the surface, that system is so apparent in the way that the characters treat each other. Even the way that like when Susu and they go to like the sea sort of realm, the way people are treating Susu, like it's just you see it everywhere. Like if you see it, you see it, and it's just like you're gonna have this in front of me and like not delve into it and just primarily focusing on love story. Like it's annoying and like simul simultaneously, right? This is why, even though I really do like Eternal Love and I do like fated love stories, they're not my favorite, but I like fated love stories. This is why I prefer Ashes of Love to Eternal Love because it's not just talking about the love story between Sufang and Genie. It's talking about like generational trauma. It's talking about like responses to trauma, particularly through Ron Yu's character, and like that's super interesting. Like it's unique in that it focuses more on like a male lead than it does on the leads, and he has a more interesting character. It's like a love story that's a lot more than a love story has a lot more to say, with things that you can really like sit down and discuss and kind of like see different perspectives on, and I like that, right? I think After Love has more to say than just like a simple love story. But Eternal Love, I don't think has that, and it has the potential, but didn't fully meet it. Especially with like particular characters, particular plot lines, and characters you would expect to have empathy that only really show it in words. I think that's kind of insane. Whereas, Ashes of Love for me is like Ryu and his journey and how tortured he was and how he like came out of that and how he wasn't, in my opinion, I think Ryu's evil. I hate Ryu, but I do understand where he came from. He did horrendous things to get where he got. But similarly to like Shan in Eternal Love, it's like you're beaten, you're battered, you're beaten, you're battered. You just get to a point where nobody's willing to help you and you're tired. The only difference is that like he was primarily motivated through love because he had been so tortured, right? He got attached to Jimmy and that made him do really terrible things. Shanyu really wasn't driven by love at the beginning. It was something to save herself. Later on, she did get a bit love obsessed, but again, it's just about control and not wanting to get back to where you were. Like Shanyu just a lot more insecure than Yu is, because Yu isn't insecure. He's actually very secure, which is what makes him like scarier and more relentless. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's very like confident in what he's doing. He doesn't shake about it, which is what's scary but also fascinating too. He's facing the darkness, he's looking at it directly, right? And I think that's just way more interesting than what Eternal Love does, because which I know is not even like it's not even her character, it's the responses to her character, how she got to the point that she got to, and then when she is at the dark point, the fact that nobody's obviously nobody forgives her because she betrayed the heavenly realm, but it's like nobody wants to think about how she got there. That's the insane thing about it. With Sapang and Jimmy, like eventually they forgive him, and eventually they're like, yeah, you know. But it's like I feel like the characters are capable of forgiveness, they're capable of like letting go, but like Eternal Love, like they're also like unforgiving. I think it's insane. But yeah, my main point is that Eternal doesn't delve into classism as much as I think it should, and that I prefer After Love because I think it delves into the wider themes of the show that are there in a better way, and it stays consistent throughout the entire show. Because like if you have something else other than a love story, let's touch on that because the shows are too long to not do that. Like Eternal is 55 episodes, After Love was 63. It's like After Love could delve into a lot more than the romance, then Eternal Love could have done the same thing. I think that's why I look back and I'm like, I'm really like disappointed, especially when like I'm rewatching Eternal Love. I'm seeing like the potential, and it's infuriating. But anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.